Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing really well. So in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to make these cute crochet accessories, including a messenger bag, Airpods case with a bunny design, and a wallet which you can store all of your cards in. And this is the perfect project for if you are stuck for ideas for Christmas, and these are all super beginner friendly as well. So let's get into the tutorial. Okay, so for this project I'm going to be using two different colours. I've got this lightish beige colour and then this medium brown colour. These are both cotton yarn and they're double knit. And in total I've probably got about 100 to 120 grams of this dark brown yarn. And then for the beige I've got about 50 grams. Today I'm going to be using a 4mm hook, some scissors. You're also going to need a button for the bag. And then you're also going to need a sewing needle and some embroidery thread to sew your button on. Okay, so starting off with the front panel for the bag, I'm going to be taking my dark brown yarn and I'm going to make a slip knot. And for the size I'm making, I'm going to be chaining up the height first, but I'm going to be chaining 30 plus 1 for the turning chain. If you want your bag to be longer in height, then you can do more chains and adjust it as you want. So I'm just going to start off with 30 chains. So I've got my 30 chains plus 1 for the turning chain, and now I'm going to be doing my first row, which is just going to be single crochets. So I'm going to start by going into the second chain from the hook, and I'm going to flip the chain over so that I'm going into that back bump. So that's that line right behind the chain, and I'm going to make a single crochet. So I'm going to yarn over and pull through that first loop, like that. And then I'm going to yarn over again and pull through these two loops. So it always goes yarn over, pull through the first loop, and then yarn over, pull through both of the loops. So I'm going to do that again into that next back bump. So again, it's the line right behind the chain. So going into that next one. I'm going to yarn over and pull through the first loop, and then yarn over again and pull through both loops. Now I'm just going to continue that all the way across to the end of the row, and by the end of the row I will have 30 stitches. Your number might be different if you did a different amount, but you just want to continue this all the way across. Okay, so once you get to the end of the row you should have something like this, and we're going to now start row 2. So for row 2 I'm just going to chain 1 and turn the work. So I'm turning the work all the way around to the back. And as long as you're on the back of the work, you are going to be working in the front loops only. And when we work on the front of the work, we'll be working in the back loops. So I'm going to start off my first stitch as a single crochet as normal in both loops. So I'm inserting my hook into that stitch just as I would in the previous row. And when I say stitch, I mean these two loops that look like V's across the top. And you want to make your single crochet as normal, like that. Now in the next few stitches is where we're going to be doing something different. So instead of going in through both loops of that V, we're only going through the front loop, and that is the loop closest to you. So insert your hook into that loop and then make your single crochet as normal. Okay. So that's the only difference, is where you're inserting the hook, but the stitch is the exact same. So now I'm going to repeat that front loop single crochet into each stitch all the way across, and then when I get to my final stitch, that final V right there, so that's my 30th stitch, right at the end is where I'm going to then just do a single crochet as normal through both of those loops. So I'm just going to single crochet through the front loop into each stitch until I get to that very last stitch, and then I will do my single crochet in both loops as normal. Okay, so I've just done my last single crochet in the front loop. Now I'm going to do my final single crochet of the row, and I'm going into both loops for that final single crochet. So just like that, and then I make my single crochet as normal, like that. And that is the end of row 2. And now we're going to start row 3. So for row 3 we will chain 1 and then turn the work. And now we're working along the front, so we are going to be working in the back loop when we are on the front. So I'm going to start off with my normal single crochet in the first stitch through both loops, right there, so that first V-stitch, and I'm going through both loops, making my single crochet. Okay, and then into each back loop I will make my single crochets. So going into the next back loop, so rather than the front loop I'm grabbing that back loop, and I'm going to make my single crochet, same into the next back loop, single crochet, and I'm going to continue that all the way across the row, and then again in that final stitch I will make my single crochet but through both of the loops of the V. So after your row 3 you then just want to alternate between row 2 and row 3 until the work reaches your desired width. So I did 39 rows, so you literally just want to alternate from the working in the front loop to working in the back loop. Okay, so I've just finished my final row. I did 39 rows in total, and now I'm just going to finish by basically doing like a border row of just single crochet. So I'm kind of just basically continuing on from where I was. I'm going to single crochet all the way across the top, just roughly going into each kind of space. So right here I'm just going to kind of go into this space, make my single crochet, and then into the next space, single crochet, into the next space, single crochet, and I'm just continuing that all the way along, and I'm going to continue it all the way across, down the side, across the bottom and back up. So my final kind of stitch will be this top left corner. If you are right-handed, then you'll be working in the opposite direction, so you'll go down the bottom, up the side, across the top and then back down, but it's pretty much the exact same thing. And then once you have got to the corner, you'll then just want to chain 1 and fasten off. You don't really need to count your stitches, but if you are a little bit more of a perfectionist and you want to make sure that everything's the same, then you can make a kind of note of how many stitches you did across the top and the side and then just match it. So I'm just going to do the rest of the border now, and then I'll come back and show you the second panel. Okay, so I've just done my border row. As you can see, everything's nice and kind of tidied up around the edge. So I've just chained 1, and now I'm just going to cut the yarn. Just pull that through and creates a little knot. And now I'm basically going to do the exact same thing, except I'm going to chain a little bit more because I need a bit more for the flap. So I'm going to chain up 30 to begin with. Okay, so once you have your 30 chains, just grab your original front panel, and then you can just kind of decide how long you want your flap to be. So if we say that this part is the top, then the flap will kind of come down maybe to about here, so just above 1/2 of the bag. I'm just going to start off with a chain of about 8. So as you can see, when I hold the chain in line with the length of the front panel, you'll see that there's an extra bit up here, so this would fold down on top for the flap. So I think I'm going to make it a little bit longer, so I'll add another maybe 3 or 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, just see how that looks. When I bring it down, goes roughly to this stitch here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 stitches from the top. So that will be about here. So I'm pretty happy with that. So in total I have done 41 stitches. So whatever stitch amount that you've chained up, you want to add an extra one for the turning chain. So make sure whatever amount you've chained, you always add one more. Okay, And now I'm going to do the exact same pattern that I've done for the front panel. I'm going to single crochet into each back bump all the way across, starting off with the second back bump from the hook. Like that, and then I just single crochet into each back bump all the way across, and then for the second row I would just chain one and turn the work, and then I would make a single crochet into the first stitch, and then I would single crochet into the front loop only into the next 39 stitches, and then into that final stitch I would do single crochet. For the following row, so that's row 3, I would chain one and turn the work, single crochet into the first stitch, and then single crochet into each back loop for the next 39 stitches, and then into that final stitch I would do a single crochet through both loops. So exactly what we did for this one, except the panel is just a little bit longer, and then you want to do the same amount of rows that you did for the front panel. So for me that was 39 rows. That might be different for you, but you want to make sure that it's the exact same amount of rows. And then you always want to do, for the final step, the border around the edge. So I'm going to do that off camera, and then I will come back and show you the next step. Okay, so this is what it should look like once you've done your bigger panel and you've done the border around the outside. So as you can see, when you flip it so that it's on the inside out, and then you place your front panel with the right side up, you'll have this section right above it that can fold down like this, and this is kind of going to be like the flap. And then we would just sew the button to the front panel, so sort of the center of the front panel, and then we're going to add an extra kind of row across the top, or a couple of rows, to create the buttonhole. So I'm going to show you how to do the buttonhole section. So this is with your bigger panel, and you want to flip it so that it's now on the right side, and you want to do it on the top edge. Okay, so I'm going to take my yarn again and my hook, and I'm just going to insert my hook into this corner stitch right here and bring my slip knot through like that, and then just chain one so that it is attached to the work. And I'm just going to simply make a single crochet row, and around the center of the work, it doesn't need to be exact, but you know, if you want to make it exact, you can kind of mark the area. You want to make a chain that is going to allow your button to fit through the hole. So here's the button that I'm going to be using. So as you can see, when I place the button onto the work, about 3 stitches is what's going to allow the button to fit through. So I am just going to kind of leave my button right there in the center, and I'm just going to single crochet across until I get to the button area. Okay, so once you have got to the section where you're going to kind of have that buttonhole, like I said, my button is going to be about 3 stitches in width. That means I'm going to make 3 chains. So I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I'm also going to skip 3, and this is just going to make everything nice and equal. So 1, 2, 3, and then I'm just going to make my single crochet into that 4th stitch instead, like that. So as you can see, I've made a nice buttonhole and it is nice and even, and then I would just continue to single crochet across. So we're basically just doing exactly what we did over here, but on this side to finish the row. And then once you have got to the end of the row, I'm just going to do one more row to kind of thicken up the buttonhole area, otherwise it looks just a little bit kind of like a piece of string. This is just my preference, but if you don't want to, you don't have to. So I will just start my next row, just chain 1 and turn the work. Now we're working along the back of the work. And I'm just going to single crochet all the way across, and then when I get to the chain area, I'm just going to make a single crochet into each chain and single crochet across. So it's literally just one row of single crochet. Okay, so I've just reached the chain 3 part, so I'm just going to kind of insert my hook into both of those V loops across the chain. So you might just kind of have to pull back the chain, and then insert your hook so that you've got both of those loops on the hook, and then just single crochet as normal. And I'm going to do the exact same into the next chain as well, and then the following chain as well. And then I'm just going to single crochet all the way across to the end, and then when I get to the end of the row I'm just going to fasten off, so I'll just chain 1 and then fasten off. As you can see, when I fold the panel down, we've got this nice buttonhole, and then kind of directly here is where I would sew the button. And you just want to sew that with some embroidery thread, and then I'm going to show you how we do the bag strap. So the bag strap is also going to be the side and bottom edge of the bag, so it's kind of going to be the area that holds the weight of the bag. So you're going to want to measure how long the side of your bag is for the front panel, and also the base. So for me it's about 7 inches across the side, and then about 10 inches across the bottom. So that's 7, 10 and 7, so altogether that is 24. And then I want to make the actual strap that goes around the arm about 20 inches. Again, you don't have to do this, you can adjust this as you want. So 24 plus 20 is going to be 44. So in total I'm going to be making a 44-inch long strap. So that is how long strap is going to be, and then you want to decide how wide you want it to be. So that's going to be the thickness that kind of comes out at the side and obviously out at the bottom. I'm going to be making mine about 9 chains long. That's including the turning chains. That's 8 plus 1 for the turning chain. And for the strap, I'm going to do something a bit different. If you want to continue doing the same stitch that we've been doing, where we alternate between the front loop and the back loop, you can. However, I think that just doing a regular single crochet makes the strap a little bit stronger, and also not chaining 1 makes it a bit stronger as well. So for my bag strap pattern, I'm going to be inserting my hook into that second back bump from the hook and making a single crochet. And then I would just make 1 single crochet into each back bump all the way across, which will give me 8 stitches. Okay, so that's what it should look like. And then for the following row, instead of chaining 1, I'm simply just going to turn the work. And this is going to create a little bit more of a stronger strap, because you're not kind of creating a gap between the first and second row. It's just going straight into it, so the stitches are nice and tight. So now for my second row, I'm literally just going to do 1 single crochet into each stitch. So it's nice and simple. I'm not going into the front loop or the back loop, I'm simply just going into that first stitch through both of those loops, and then making a single crochet. And then I'm going to make 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way across. Nice and simple. And I would just continue that all the way across. So I would just turn the work again and make 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way across. And you literally just want to continue doing those rows of single crochet until you are happy with the length of the bag strap. Remember that it needs to account for this edge of the bag, the bottom edge, and then up, and then actually the bag strap itself. So like I said, mine is going to be 44 inches long in total. 7 inches for either side, 10 inches across the bottom, and then a 20-inch strap. So I'm going to do that now off camera. Once you have completed the bag strap, I'm going to come back and show you how to attach it to the actual bag. Okay, so I've just finished the bag strap. I haven't fastened off, but I'm basically just going to fold the bag strap in half, and I've got it on the wrong side on the outside, and I'm going to complete my final row, which is just going to be slip stitching these seams together. So because my final row is over here, I just need to pull the strand, the loop through to the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my hook just into the back loop of the first stitch on the front part of the bag strap. So you can see right there, I've just gone into the back loop, and then I'm going to grab the loop from my working yarn and I'm just going to pull it through like that. And then I'm going to go into my next back loop on the front part of the bag strap and my next front loop, so that's this one right here, of the back of the bag strap, so the inside loops only, and I'm just going to make a slip stitch. So I'm going to yarn over and pull through those 2 loops, and I'm going to pull that first loop through the second, like that. And I'm going to repeat that all the way across so that everything is attached. So I'm going into the next back loop and the front loop on the corresponding stitch on the back part of the bag strap, and then make your slip stitch, so yarn over and pull through those 2 loops, and then pull your first loop through the second. And I'm going to just do that all the way across so that everything is attached. And then once you have got to the end, you just want to chain 1 and fasten off. So I've now got my back panel and I've placed it so that the wrong side is facing up, and I've just placed 2 stitch markers at where the flap basically ends and the actual bag begins. So if you need to know what that is basically the height of your front panel. So I've just lined the front panel up and place stitch markers right where the top of the front panel sits. So you want to take your bag strap and make sure that it is on the neat side on the outside. So you want to lay it basically around the back panel like this. And with your measuring tape, you just want to make sure that the top of your bag strap is the correct amount of inches that it was when you planned to make the length of it. So like I said before, I've got 7 inches going down the side, 10 inches across the bottom, and 7 inches up the other side, and then I wanted to have a 20-inch strap. So that means that from this point to the middle it needs to be 10 inches, and from this point to the middle it needs to be 10 inches. So where the bag strap seam is, I'm going to pull the bag strap out so that I can see where the 10-inch mark is. So it's right there, and I'm going to place my stitch marker where that 10-inch mark is, and you want to make sure that you're placing your stitch marker where the bottom part of the bag strap is. So I'm not going across the top edge, I'm connecting it at the bottom edge here, and the same goes for the other side. So I'm going to do the exact same thing over here. So if you're right-handed, you want to start over here and kind of tilt the work this way so you can work down. Because I'm left-handed, I'm going to start over here, but it's the exact same process. So just make your slip stitch, slip knot, make your slip knot, and just insert your hook where that stitch marker is on the bag and the bag strap, like that. And then just pull your slip knot through, and then chain 1 to attach it, like that. And then I'm simply just going to insert my hook into my next stitch on the back panel and my next stitch on the bag strap and make a slip stitch, like that. And so I'm going to insert my hook into my next stitch on the back panel and on the bag strap, and then just make my slip stitch, And I'm going to do that literally all the way across until I get to the other side of the stitch marker. And this way you should be connecting the side, the bottom and this side, and you want to make sure that you are leaving the flap section out, so you're not touching anything above this point. And then I'm going to come back and I'll chain one and fasten off, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how to do the front panel attaching. Okay, so this is what it should look like once you have attached the back panel to the strap. And now to attach the front panel, you just want to flip this whole piece over so that we are now basically, you've got all of your kind of neat sides facing up, and you want the side where the button is on the inside, so you want your wrong side up on the outside, and then you are just going to basically line up the edges of your front panel to the area where you started for the strap and the back panel. So I'm just going to take my stitch marker and then attach it at the exact same sort of row right here. You then just want to repeat the process again by doing your slip stitches from the first stitch marker to the second stitch marker, and then fasten off as normal. And then as you can see, you just want to weave in all of your ends, and then the bag is finished. Okay, so I'm just going to explain to you how I've made the base part for the Airpods case. So I've used my beige yarn and I just chained up 12, and then I single crocheted across, firstly in the second chain from the hook and then into each chain across, or each back bump if you prefer to do it that way. And then I just turned the work, so I didn't chain one, I just did straight away turning the work, and I've done single crochets all the way across in both loops, so no back loops or front loops, just a normal panel of single crochet, and I've done that for 13 rows in total, and then I just chain one and fastened off. So you want to basically have a panel of 11 by 13. Once you've fastened off, you want to make another one so that you've got these two panels, and then just set them aside. And now I'm going to show you how to make the ear, which looks like this. So you want to take your beige yarn or whatever colour you are using for the rabbit, and you want to make a slip knot. And we're going to start off by chaining 3. 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to single crochet into the second back bump from the hook and single crochet into the next back bump. So you'll have 2 stitches in the row. And then I'm going to start my second row, so I'm going to just turn the work, not chaining one, and I'm going to make 1 single crochet into each stitch, so that's just a row of 2 single crochets. So that's 1, and I'm going into the next one, that's 2. And you'll notice that I weaved in the end as I'm going along, just so that is a lot easier. And then for my third row, I'm just going to turn the work again. And this time I'm going to make 2 single crochets into the first stitch. So that's 1, and that's 2. And then into the final stitch I'll just make 1 single crochet. So you've now increased your stitches to now 3 stitches in the row. Okay, so for my fourth row I'm going to turn the work again, and this time I'm going to make another increased row, so I'm going to do 2 single crochets into the first stitch. So that's 1, that's 2, and then I'm going to make 1 single crochet into the next 2 stitches. So that's 1 and 2. So now in your row you should have 4 stitches, and then from row 5 to row 11 I'm just going to do single crochets into each stitch. So I'll just turn the work and I'll just make 1 single crochet into each stitch all the way across, and then I will just turn the work again and repeat the exact same thing for row 6, and I'm going to continue that until I have 11 rows altogether. Okay, so now I'm going to start row 12, so I'm just going to turn the work, and for my first stitch I'll be skipping the first stitch and just making a single crochet into the next stitch, like that, and then I'm just going to just do a single crochet into the last 2 stitches. So this will bring your stitches down to 3. And then for row 13 I'm going to turn the work and I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to skip the first stitch and single crochet into the next stitch, and then I'll just make one single crochet into that final stitch. So that will bring your stitches down to 2. And then for row 14 and 15, I'm just going to turn the work and make one single crochet into each stitch. So that's row 14 and final row. That's row 15. So then you just want to chain 1 and fasten off. So you should have something like this, so you've got kind of like a pointed end at either end to replicate a rabbit's ear. So I then just decided to clean up the edges a little bit. So with the dark brown yarn, I just attached it with a slip knot and chained 1 at the top of the ear, and then I just made slip stitches all around the border to create a defined line. Okay, so once you get to the beginning, you just want to slip stitch back into that first stitch where you attached the yarn, where you did the chain 1. Like that, slip stitch, and then just chain 1 and fasten off. Okay, so I've just completed both of the border lines for the ears, and now I'm just going to sew the face details. So you just want to take one of your panels, and you want to make sure that basically your panel is not facing up this way in the direction that you were crocheting in. So your lines shouldn't be horizontal, they should be vertical like this. And I'm going to basically be sewing just some simple kind of circular eyes. Basically just want to kind of sew up and down in a sort of central area. Like that. So you should have something like this. And then I'm going to do the nose. So the nose is basically just going to be in the middle, and it's going to be a V shape that I'm going to make first. And then for the final part of the nose, I'm just going to make a vertical line from the bottom of the V down. So I'm just going to pull my yarn from bottom up towards that V. And then I'm going to make a upside down V, and I'm going to make it slightly smaller than the one I've done up here. Like that. Okay, and then you just want to tuck the ends into the back of the work like this. Doesn't need to be like really intricate. Just tuck everything in so that it's secure, and then you can just cut the yarn. Okay, so we're now going to be attaching both of the panels kind of at the same time. If you're right-handed, you want to start over here in the top left, work down across the bottom and back up. And because I'm left-handed, I'm going to be starting in the top right corner. So you essentially just want to insert your hook into that corner stitch of the front panel. You then just want to grab the same stitch on the back panel like this, and then you want to take your dark brown yarn and pull your slip knot through those stitches like that, and then just chain 1 to attach it. And just like I've been doing, I'm going to just make single crochets through both sides. So I'm going into my next stitch on the front and my next stitch on the back, and I'm just going to make a single crochet through both. Like that. And I'm going to repeat that all the way around the side, bottom and the other side. If you're right-handed, you'll be starting over here and going down across the bottom and back up. And then when you reach your top corner, you then just want to fasten off. Okay, so once you have done the attaching of both panels, we're now going to do kind of a top border section, and we're going to attach the ears at the same time. So again, take your darker brown colour and make a slip knot. And you can attach your yarn at any point on the Airpods bag, but I'm just going to basically start kind of at the back but towards the right. So if you're right-handed, you can start yours at the back towards the left. It doesn't need to be a specific stitch, just insert your hook somewhere along the back and then pull your slip knot through and then chain one to attach it, like that. And once again, I'm going to be doing single crochets around the top edge, and at the same time I'm going to be attaching my ears. So I'm just going to insert my hook into the next sort of space and make a single crochet. And once I reach this kind of brown section here, I am going to grab my ear. So I'm going to grab the ear and I'm going to insert my hook into just the top part of the ear where the brown section is, and then I'm going to insert my hook into the brown space section over here, just like that, and then I just make a single crochet through everything to kind of attach it together, like that. So as you can see, it's attached, and then I'm going to go into the next space on the ear and the next space on the Airpods bag. I do the same thing, make a single crochet through both. And I'm just kind of weaving in the ends as I go so that it's a little bit easier, saves me doing it later on. And you can do this as many times as you want until you feel that the ear is attached enough. So I'll probably do one more, inserting my hook into the next space on the ear and into the next space on the Airpods bag. Just do a single crochet again. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that, and now I'm just going to single crochet all the way around until I get to the brown space again, and I'll do the exact same thing for the other ear. Okay, so now I've attached the other ear, I'm just going to basically single crochet all the way around to the back, and then once I reach the beginning, I'm just going to slip stitch into that first chain one that I made, and then I'll fasten off. Okay, so if you have any extra ends that you need to weave in, then do them now, and then I'm going to show you the final step, which is going to be the ties around, which is going to make it a drawstring pouch. Now I'm going to show you how to make the ties. So you just want to take your brown yarn and make a slip knot, and you want to start off with a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to start off by making kind of like a puff stitch. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into the second chain from the hook, and then yarn over and pull through. So you have 3 loops on the hook, and then you want to yarn over and pull through just the first 2, like that. And I'm going to repeat that 3 more times. So I'm going to yarn over again, insert my hook into the same chain, and yarn over and pull through, and then I'm going to yarn over and pull through just the first 2 loops. So now I've done that twice, and you'll see how these stitches are starting to form. So there's the first one and there's the second one, and then I'm going to do that 2 more times. So yarn over, insert your hook into the chain, yarn over and pull through, and then yarn over and pull through the first 2. Okay, and then last one, yarn over, insert your hook into the chain, yarn over and pull through, and then yarn over and pull through the first 2. Okay, so you should now have 5 loops on your hook, and now you just want to yarn over and pull through all 5 loops, like that, and then you want to slip stitch into that last chain. Just make a slip stitch, like that. Okay, you should have like a nice little puff stitch, like this. And now I'm going to make a chain of 57. You then just want to skip the first 2 chains, and you're going to do the exact same puff stitch into that 3rd chain. So yarn over, insert your hook into the chain, and yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops. I'm going to do that 3 more times. So that's 2, 3, and 4, and then I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 5 loops, like that. And then I'm simply just going to slip stitch down the chain. So I'm going into my next chain and just making a slip stitch. And I'm going to slip stitch into each chain all the way across. Okay, so once you have done your final slip stitch into the chain, you then just want to slip stitch into that 3rd chain that we originally slip stitched the puff stitch into. So that's kind of this like gap right here, this sort of circular gap. So just slip stitch into that, and then that joins everything together, and then just chain 1 and fasten off. And then you can just weave in your ends into the puff stitch, and then you have your ties all finished, and you can loop them in and out of the Airpods case. Okay, so for the card holder, you are going to want to basically make the same type of stitch as we did for the bag. So you'll want to chain 28 plus 1 for the turning chain for the card holder, and then repeat the pattern that we did for the bag. So you want to single crochet across in each back bump, leaving you with 28 stitches in your row, and then you want to chain 1 and turn the work. You want to then single crochet into your first stitch, and then single crochet in the front loop only, all the way across, and then in that final stitch single crochet in both loops. And then for your 3rd row, you want to chain 1 and turn the work, make your single crochet into your first stitch through both loops, and then single crochet into each back loop only all the way across, and then finally single crochet into your last stitch through both loops. And then you want to repeat row 2 and row 3 until you have 15 rows in total, which is what I have right here. So it's just a basic panel of the same stitch that we did for the bag. You then want to fasten off and set that aside. And then for the pockets, you want to then chain 9 plus 1 for the turning chain, and then you want to single crochet across in each back bump, leaving you with 9 stitches in your row. And then you want to chain 1 and turn the work for row 2, and then single crochet across that row, and then you want to repeat row 2 until you have 14 rows in total. So as you can see, I've got my 14 rows, and then you just want to fasten off. So you want to make 2 of these pockets, and then come back and I will show you how to attach everything. Okay, so I have completed both of these panels, and I've basically just used some embroidery pins to pin the panels to the back of the card holder. So I'm basically just going to be single crocheting the edges, and how I'm going to do that is by, with my beige yarn, just making a slip knot. I'm going to start with this one, so I'm going to insert my hook into that top corner stitch right there, and I'm going to pick up the corresponding loop on the brown panel, and I'm basically only going to pick up 1 loop, and it's important that you do pick up 1 loop because then you are not going to see your beige yarn on the outside. Like that. So make sure that it's only 1 loop, because then you can see it's not picking up anything on the back. And then you just want to pull your slip knot through. Pull your slip knot through both of those, and then chain 1 to attach it. And then you want to go into your next stitch on the beige panel, and then grab the corresponding loop on the back panel. Again, same technique. Just pick up a loop, and it can be quite fiddly, and if you are struggling to find a corresponding loop, then you might need to grab a smaller hook. Okay, and then just again make a single crochet through both of those loops like that, and you just want to continue that all the way down to the corner all the way across the bottom and then all the way up, and you want to fasten off at this corner. And then you want to repeat the exact same thing on this side, starting over here if you're left-handed or starting over here if you're right-handed, and do the exact same thing to attach the seam of the side, bottom and other side, and then you just want to fasten off and weave those ends in. And then I'm going to show you how to do the flap at the top. This is what it should look like once you have attached the pockets together, and this is obviously where your cards are going to slot in. So now I'm going to do the front flap, and you can do this on either side of the top edge of the card holder. So I'm just going to do it here, and I'm going to grab my dark brown yarn. Okay, so I'm going to make a slip knot, and I'm just going to insert my hook into the top part of the card holder, pull the slip knot through, and then chain one to attach it, like that. And then I'm just going to single crochet across the top of the card holder. Okay, once you have single crocheted across the top, you're then going to want to do a few more rows of single crochet until you are happy with the length of the flap, and the flap should go over the top of the wallet. And then I'm going to do a buttonhole row just like I did for the bag, which I'll explain a bit later. So I'm just going to continue doing rows of single crochet. Okay, so I've done 6 rows in total of single crochet, and now I'm going to do the buttonhole row. So this is going to be the button that I'm using, so I might only have to do 1 or 2 chains for it. So I'm going to just chain 1 and turn the work for my next row. And I'm going to single crochet across until I roughly reach the center. So I think for this button I'll probably only have to do 2 chains. So I'm going to single crochet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'm going to allow these 2 middle stitches here, and then I've got my last 5 stitches. So I'm just going to chain 2, and I'm going to skip 2, and then I'll single crochet the rest of the way across the row. So I'm just going to do my final row for the buttonhole, where I chain 1 and turn the work, and I'm just going to do 1 single crochet into each stitch and each chain. And now I'm just going to chain 1 and fasten off. We've got a nice buttonhole, so I can just sew my button right here using some embroidery thread, and obviously I will just sew it through the brown section here, not through the pocket, and then that is the card holder all done. So I will do that now off camera and weave in any ends as well that you need to, and then I'll show you a final reveal of all of the projects. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and turn the notification bell on so that you're always notified when I post a new tutorial. I hope you all enjoyed making these projects. I'd love to see the final results, so tag me on Instagram if you do make them, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye guys.